All right, so now we're going to talk about some of the obstacles that prevent people from retiring abundantly. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what are the maximum limits for 401k plans, contribution limits for 2017. So if you look at this, you'll see that there are significant limitations on how much you can put away. And what we find is that a lot of people aren't even putting away the maximum amounts, even though there are limitations here. So you can see that the 401k limit is 18,000, and then the overall contribution, if there's a profit sharing plan involved, is 54,000. And then if you're over a certain age, you can put an extra, what they call a catch-up provision, an extra 6,000 away. And you can see that they've kept these pretty consistent. They've gone up a little bit over the years from 2014 to 2017. But I always like to look at this for some of the higher earners out there. Is this like using a teaspoon in the ocean in terms of what can be done if you use more advanced planning strategies? Then we also have the Roth. A lot of people like Roths because even though it's an after-tax contribution, there's a tax advantage to this because at the end of the day you can pull the money out tax-free, and that can be significant. The problem is there are, as you can see here, limitations on how much you can put away. So a Roth IRA contribution limit for 2017 is $5,500. And if you're over 50, you can put in 6,500. Big deal, right? And so the traditional limit is 5,500, and if you're over 50, you can put 6,500 in. So that's a limit, and it makes it very difficult for people to be able to accumulate the kind of money that they want. And quite honestly, there's limits for people who could put money into an IRA. A lot of folks who make over, and you can see here right on the chart, that if you are single and you make 118,000, it starts phasing out the amount that you can be eligible to put in. And once you get to 133,000, you're completely ineligible to put money into an IRA Roth. So that's a real problem. If you're married, the phase out starts at 186,000 and is completely eliminated by the time you get to 196,000. So as you can see, this is a significant disadvantage to anybody making a decent amount of money. And why is that? Well, they really don't want people making a lot of money to be able to put money into these Roths because they do work out well. And that's the reason why we use the supplemental retirement plan as an alternative to the Roth. It has pretty much the same characteristics, except there's no limit as to how much you can put in. So there you go. That's one of the things. Now let's talk a little bit about how much money do you need to accumulate in retirement? How much is enough? So what we did is we used we went to the actuaries and we said, all right, look, if someone is investing, say, their portfolio 50% in bonds, 50% in stocks, and they were to draw out 4% in retirement, there's a 95% chance that they, over the next 25 years after they retire, will not run out of money. That's pretty good odds, right? Well, here's what's interesting. If you just increase that to, say, 6%, notice it goes down to 54%. So that means there's a 50% chance you would actually run out of money before you die. And I don't know of anything worse than that. Obviously, my dad experienced that, as I shared with you at the beginning of these videos. So it's a horrible position to be in. So let me try to put this in perspective if I could. If I was to, by the way, if I was to say to you, I have a plane and we're going to fly to the Bahamas for a few days, and the only thing is the mechanic shared with me that the plane only has a 50% chance of making it to the Bahamas. How many of you would actually step up and want to get on that plane? I wouldn't think too many of you. But why would you risk a 50% chance of running out of money with your finances? It seems like crazy, right? Well, how much do you actually need to save in order to generate the proper retirement? So what I decided to do is to say, well, what's a reasonable retirement income? And again, this may be more than you're expecting, maybe a lot less than what you're expecting, but I just want to give you a sense of the math. So if you wanted to have a $250,000 stream of income in retirement, and you were only able to take out 4% so that you have a pretty close to a 95% chance of not running out of money, how much money would you actually have to accumulate in order for that to work? Well, look at the math. Divide 4% into 250,000, and you need over $6 million. Now, I don't know about you, but where I grew up, $6 million was a lot of money. And if you want double that, just do the math. So it's a significant amount of money, and yet for Roth IRAs and for 401k plans and profit sharing plans, the limit is so low that it's wonder anybody ever gets there, right? So that's why you need extra horsepower, extra planning processes, and extra techniques and strategies in order to achieve this. Now, we also worry about market fluctuation. So this is an interesting graph of where the market is right now. And as you can see, it's on a big upward swing. But I want you to understand what this graph is talking about. It shows the different market swings that has taken place in different periods of time. So you'll notice that between 1996 and 99, the market had a nice run up, right? And then what happened in 2000? It crashed, okay? And then it had a nice run up, from 2005 to 2009. And then we all know what happened in 2007, in 2008, 2009. It crashed again, right? And now look where we are. Now, what do you think's going to happen next? So if you're in a position where you're close to retirement, or you're drawing money in for retirement, and we have a market correction, and boy, we're up pretty high right now, that could be devastating to your future retirement. So how do you dampen that volatility? And there are tools and techniques and ways to do that. Okay, there's ways to be able to build in safety into your portfolio so that you never ride this roller coaster down like that. Now, we also have to talk about taxes. Taxes are another issue. It's that part of that friction, that expense that can prevent you from accumulating the money that you need to accumulate so that you have an abundant retirement. So what I thought would be interesting is to look at the history of the U.S. Income tax, and it goes back to 1913. So prior to 1913, we didn't have any income tax. Imagine if you were working today and you didn't have to pay income tax, how much money you would be able to save. Pretty significant, right? Well, what I want you to look at here is when you look at these numbers, you look at the fact that it's been as high as 94%. People are shocked. They had no idea that the income tax top bracket got to 94%. And I can show you a little history of when these things took place. So back when we were fighting World War II, the tax rate got to 73%. Then we went into peacetime. And then we had a stock market crash, and the market crashed, so the tax rate went down to 25%. And then we had the Great Depression, and the taxes went up to 63%. Then we had World War II, and the tax rate went to 94%, right? Then we had the Korean War, and it was 91%. Then we had JFK come in and decide to reduce taxes a little bit, right? Then we had the Vietnam War. Tax rates went up to 70%. And then Ronald Reagan came along, and the rate went down to 28%. And then we had the Gulf War, and tax rate went back up to 40% under Clinton. And then we were at 35% under the Bush administration, and then under Obama, it went back up to 39.5. What's going to happen under Trump? No one really knows. All I can say is that we are now $20 trillion in debt. And where do you think they're going to get the money from? So this is something that you need to take advantage of. You need to take a look at, because if you don't do anything about this, the tax man's going to be coming for you. So what I'd like to do in the next video, if I could, is conceptually show you how to avoid a lot of these pitfalls and a lot of these obstacles that will be in the way of you having an abundant retirement. So look forward to seeing you at the next video.